Big day in the market today. It's off its lows. Why follow the NASDAQ? Because I have a short of the NASDAQ. For the record, if I get very confused by ads, if you don't know me, I'm not a handyman. I've never searched for any one of these things in my entire life, and I'm getting ads for this.
Do you even know what 3 out of those 4 are? Because you know what one of them is.
I know what that is. This weighs stuff.
That weighs your suitcase.
This is a
socket set.
This is a distance thing. Like is it a thermometer? No, it's a thermometer. It says on the side thermometer. Okay. The distance thing. The whole point is, I sometimes get these random and by the way, I used to not believe the whole they listen to you. And literally the other day, Lisa and I were talking about Overland Sheep Company, about some specific thing there, and all of a sudden my ad started popping up, and I'm like, holy F.
So have you heard of this, the backbone? So you could put your iPhone in the middle of this device and you play PlayStation.
Oh, yeah, I love that thing.
So I talked about it a lot at home, and Nicole's getting boom, bombarded now.
Is she?
Yeah.
Don't you have one?
I bought the wrong one. Long story. Doesn't matter, but yeah.
All right. So anyhow, big day in the market. Why is that? Well, there's 1,000 reasons we can blame it on something, right? Mo, what are you blaming it on?
Maybe Trump's NFTs today. What do you think?
Well, Scottie Pippen's on NFT, is big on NFTs. He's very bullish on NFTs.
Could be some of that. Could be but more realistically, it could be the retail number that came out this morning.
Well, this one says stocks are plunging because Fed cannot lose the battle on inflation. I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
What I think it means is they're saying the Fed's not going to stop raising rates. And by the way, Powell has said, I want to over raise rates. I think it's riskier to under raise rates.
Yeah, that's the big one for me. Retail stocks smoked as
markets tank.
Retail sales miss. The retail sales number came out this morning, and that's kind of where this big downfall started.
So yeah, why stocks fell after the Fed decision, investors bolting from the market after well, that's what Jim Crater says. Stock markets halt 2-day win streak. Okay. Guys,
but the point is, there's a million excuses.
Yeah.
You could literally, I was joking when I was talking about the NFTs it's silly. And the most logical answer today is probably the retail sales numbers. That's when it started. Right when they came out, the market fell. But still, what is that? How's that going to change the value of the market 3%?
Well, and so that's the thing. I said yesterday when the market, literally the Fed. So here's what happened. The market was up. The Fed spoke, went like this, then went back to this. I said, guys, from here to here to here to here was essentially like a 4% total swing. You can't possibly look at me and say that's rational.
You're telling me that between last night and 24 hours ago, Apple's worth 4.5 less as a company?
And that's the thing. And you know what's funny? You know what's funny today? Gary and I in our conversation, Gary is one of the brilliant value investors I know. He goes, well, the market for the most part is pretty rational. And I'm like, and I'm thinking to myself, no, I don't think it is. I don't think the market's ever rational. It's either underpriced or overpriced. It's one of those two things. It's impossible to always be at par.
Yes.
It's impossible to be at par for a majority of the time.
Yeah.
Now, is it possible that if this is the value, if you're selling for between here and here, that's pretty reasonable? Yeah. Sure. I got that.
But you're not going to sit on that line.
Yeah, but you're not going to sit on that line. You're going to go like this. And the majority of the time, you're going to be in this band that you can sit there and say, okay, you can find good value. Stocks that are quote unquote overvalued can grow into their values a little bit better. I fully buy into that. But when you start chasing the story to fit the results, that's what I get. That's why I sit there and say, I don't get this. So if you're new to watching this, and this is the first time watching the video, we're value investors. And one of our big things is we don't want to predict the future. We just want to look at what today is and what that means about the future. But we don't know the future. We will never know the future. All we can do is make reasonable assumptions about the future and hopefully buy investments at less than our hurdle rate would require. So if we want to make 10%, we're trying to find investments that based on what today says about the future, we can beat that 10%. You're not going to do it all the time. And the more you research, probably the better you'll do in terms of finding the better investments. But we also believe in there's too much overthinking in the market. There's 1,000 reasons why. If the market was up today, there'd be 1,000 reasons why it's up today. And guess what? Any day it's going to be up or down.
Yeah. And if that's something new that you heard for the first time, start paying attention to that. When you see big up days or big down days or neutral days, and there's a lot of news out there, and start paying attention to it and be like, oh yeah, this really doesn't make sense, and it really doesn't matter. Just start paying attention to those little things if you're new to watching.
So look at Tesla. Tesla's up today. In the last 3 months, it's down 48%. At one point today, it was down 50% in the last 3 months. That just, I go, really? 50% in 3 months? All-time high is 404. And that was when? only a little over a year ago, 414, sorry.
And this is a company that we're saying needs to go to $50, $60, and we're saying this is unrealistic to be down 50% in this short of a time.
Yeah, I just look at it going, that just seems so oversold. So I want you to hear that going, listen, there's the part of investing where it's, what is this thing? What do I want to buy this thing for, to own it for a long period of time? There's the other part of investing. I had a short on Tesla. I closed out today saying this just seems too much. There's got to be some sort of like rebound, some rally. I mean, it just seemed, do I think it's oversold? Maybe a little bit. I entered a new short, but with calls that were staggered a little bit different. That way I took my profit to lock it in and change my position so that it allowed for less risk on the downside. Great. I locked in some gains, but I still believed in myself like 3 months, 48%, 1 month, 18%, 1 week, 10%.
Yeah, it's a little oversold.
I mean, come on.
A little oversold.
It's possible for overvalued companies to still have the bounce. And I look at this saying, do I think this is going to go further? Yes. I do not think Tesla is a $157 company currently. But it doesn't mean that someday it won't be. The question is, what would it take for that to happen? And that's the big thing we do on this channel. We have to analyze what does the future hold and what can we pay for the future now based on a wide spectrum of things that occur. When I see all these news reports about where the market's going based on this information, that information, that's all noise. If you believe in the U.S. economy, the other day I was at dinner and somebody said, well, Paul, Blackstone agrees with you. The economy's going to shit. I never said that. In fact, I'm a very big proponent of the economy. I'm actually one of the few people saying that I don't buy into the housing market's going to crash. Do I think there's going to be corrections and possibly even stable prices? Yeah. Now it's showing that it's probably going to be lower prices. I don't think it's going to be a crash like we saw 06, 07. I don't believe that. Could I be wrong? Of course I could be wrong. Do I believe the U.S. economy will be bigger 10 years from now than today? Absolutely. Do I believe inflation is as detrimental as people think it ought to be? No. I think inflation is going to help things like stock market valuation and companies over the long haul.
And I think that's a big key to it. You just said over the long haul. People look at inflation day to day. It's really bad.
And I understand you guys are all living in inflation today.
And yes, it affects everybody's directly. That's something that does affect you directly.
Now, it affects some people more. You're on fixed income or you have lower income. I get that. But if you look at the long haul, if you look at 10, 15, 20 years, which is what I like to do, everyone says they're a long-term investor until they have short-term losses. What we're trying to teach on this channel is you take advantage of short-term losses to make great long-term investments. That's the key there. And it takes a certain mentality and emotional fortitude to be able to sit there and say, markets are down, but that's a good thing because the U.S. economy is not going away.
Yeah, it's a tough thing to do. But that's where...
When you see the red.
Repetition helps you. I mean, when you see this, it's scary. It's absolutely scary.
When I see red in my account, I avoid it.
Yeah.
I'm a human like you guys. When I see stocks down, I avoid them. But at the same time, I have to also take a step back saying, do I want this? Well, I believe in this company. I rerun my numbers. If my thesis is still the same, I don't react to Mr. Market's emotional ups and downs. My job is to react to that by either being a buyer or a seller. And if that makes sense to you guys, I really encourage you to subscribe to the channel, watch more videos. You'll walk away having a better understanding of money and investing. Because the one thing we started this channel 2 or 3 years ago, and the difference today versus back then was I thought it was all about the numbers back then, and I believe it's all about the emotion and mindset today. It's 90% emotion and mindset. If you don't even know the numbers, as long as you're able to stay in investing and increase your investments as stocks are going down, you're going to do very, very well. And buy low-cost ETFs.
And if you guys are looking at this saying, I don't have anybody in my life to talk to about this, we have a community here of thousands of people that you can come and talk to. And it's risk-free. It's risk-free. Try it for 30 days. If you don't like it, if you don't feel you're getting anything out of it, you can go. But you are going to finally
get your money back.
You'll get your money back. But you have like-minded people to talk to because I didn't have anybody before you to talk to on a daily basis.
Oh, yeah.
And now I have thousands of people to talk to. So.
Yeah. And we talk about all these things. And remember, investing is about mindset and emotion. There's a reason in our channel, in our community, I put a quote every day that resonates with me and how it applies because it's all about that. And I look at and by the way, even in our community, people say to me, Paul, what do you think the Fed's going to say tomorrow? How's it going to affect stocks? I have no idea. And frankly, I don't care because I thought interest rates were too low anyhow. So to me, we're not even yet to the 10-year treasury is 3.6, 3.5. The historical average is 4.5 or 4.4. So we're still almost 1% away from that. To me, the reason I like higher rates is I can sit on cash and make 4.28% in 90-day treasury. That's not bad. Yeah. That's not bad at all.
Not bad at all.
So that's what I'm trying to sit there and say. Everything's about your perspective of it. And we're trying to offer a different perspective of how to look at the same data. Mine's a much more, it might sound like FUD, but mine's a much more optimistic way of looking at the future. Do I think the US economy is going to grow over the next 10 or 20 years? Can I pay a reasonable price for the companies today based on that? That's all I'm saying. Now, do I think today is a reasonable price? No, I don't. But will there be a reasonable price? Absolutely. And that's my main focus. Wait until there's a reasonable price where everything is a little bit more calm. There's too much money chasing a lot of crappy deals, and I don't like that. You're seeing it now with FTX. All these companies are now, you guys are frauds. Well, where were the questions ahead of time? We're asking the question ahead of time. We were accused of being, negative. We're not negative. We're just asking the questions ahead of time. There are a lot of great companies out there. There are companies out there right now that I do something very different than all value investors. There are a lot of great companies out there that I can think justify their price today, but I'm not buying because I think the market's going to lower and I'm okay waiting for that. Could I be right? I could be wrong. But along the way, I can sell puts on those companies to generate more money. And if that makes sense to you, being paid to wait to buy a stock at a lower price at a future date, all the more reason to join because Mo does that in his community. So guys, be patient. Markets are going to go up. Markets are going to go down. And the stories are going to, you just watch the stories. When the markets are up, it's not going to say, well, the markets are up, but it shouldn't have been. It's going to say, markets are up because Joe Biden had a great bowel movement today. There's just all these random reasons. No, focus on the long-term fundamentals. And that to me is GDP growth and valuations. You stick to those two things, you're going to do very, very well, as long as you can handle the ups and downs in the market. So subscribe to the channel. This makes sense to you. If it doesn't, maybe it will in the future, but usually somebody comes around and have to explain. That's how my journey went. When I couldn't explain why stocks fell so much, I was like, there's got to be a way to explain it. And I fell upon value investing. That was the beauty for me. I hope it's a way for you. Thanks very much.